New York City, the most expensive real estate market in America, a place where a parking spot costs more than a house in most cities, where a studio apartment runs you $5,000 a month, and where the most exclusive addresses on Earth sit along a single stretch of Central Park known as Billionaires Row. But here is what most people do not know. Some of the most jaw-dropping properties in this city, triplex penthouses with private swimming pools, Central Park West duplexes with 4 terraces, historic mansions designed by the first Black architect in New York State, are owned by Black billionaires who moved in silence. No press releases, no Instagram tours. Just 9-figure real estate moves that most of the world never even heard about. These are New York's Black billionaire mansions, and they are next level. If this is your first time here, welcome to Black Status, where we go deep on the wealth, power, and legacy of the Black community worldwide. Subscribe and turn on notifications, because by the time this video is over, you will never look at the New York skyline the same way again. Let us start with a rapper who bought an entire floor of a Manhattan building and made it disappear from public records. Number 7. A$AP Rocky's full-floor Manhattan fortress. Most rappers talk about owning New York. A$AP Rocky quietly went out and bought a piece of it. The Harlem-born rapper, whose real name is Rakeem Athalaston Mayers, dropped $11 million on a full-floor Manhattan loft that most people will never see. 3 bedrooms, 3.5 bathrooms, and a private elevator that opens directly into his living space, meaning nobody steps onto his floor unless he personally approves it. The layout reads less like an apartment and more like a fortified art gallery. The open floor plan stretches across an estimated 3,000 square feet of uninterrupted space, anchored by floor-to-ceiling windows that pour natural light across polished concrete floors. The ceilings hover at over 11 feet, giving the entire residence the feel of a converted industrial cathedral. But the real story is what you cannot find. Rocky has kept this property so far off the radar that public records barely acknowledge it exists. No listing photos have ever surfaced. No real estate blogs have done walkthroughs. In a city where every celebrity purchase gets dissected within hours, Rocky managed to move $11 million through the New York real estate market like a ghost. For a man who built his entire brand on Harlem streets, owning a full floor of Manhattan is not just a flex, it is a homecoming with a deadbolt. And if you think a rapper buying a secret floor is impressive, wait until you see a mansion built over 100 years ago by a woman who started with nothing, and it is still standing as one of the most important homes in American history. Number 6. Villa Lewaro, Madam C.J. Walker's 34-room palace. Before there were Black billionaires on Billionaires Row, there was a woman born to formerly enslaved parents in Louisiana who became the first self-made female millionaire in American history. Her name was Sarah Breedlove. The world knows her as Madam C.J. Walker, and in 1918 she built a mansion so grand that it stunned even the wealthiest families in New York. Villa Lewaro sits on a hilltop in Irvington-on-Hudson, just 25 miles north of Manhattan, overlooking the Hudson River. The name comes from the first syllables of her daughter's name, Alelia Walker Robinson, Lewaro. It was designed by Vertner Tandy, the first registered Black architect in the state of New York, and it cost $250,000 to build in 1918. Adjusted for inflation, that is roughly $5.5 million today. The estate spans 34 rooms in the Italian Renaissance Revival style. The exterior is clad in cream-colored stucco with a terracotta tile roof, flanked by formal gardens and a sweeping circular driveway. Inside, the ground floor opens into a grand reception hall with carved wooden paneling, a gold leaf ceiling in the dining room, and a parlor designed to host the most influential Black leaders of the early 20th century. W.E.B. Du Bois, Langston Hughes, and Zora Neale Hurston all walked these halls. The property fell into disrepair over the decades, but in 2018, Richelieu Dennis, the founder of Sundial Brands and Shea Moisture, purchased Villa Lewaro through his New Voices Foundation and committed to a full restoration. The home was designated a National Historic Landmark in 1976. A mansion built by a Black woman who was born 2 years after the end of slavery, designed by a Black architect, and now preserved by a Black entrepreneur. That is not just real estate, that is a monument. But if a century-old palace impresses you, wait until you see what happens when a modern real estate mogul decides to collect properties across New York like chess pieces. Number 5. Don Peebles' New York Real Estate Empire. Don Peebles does not just buy luxury properties. He builds them, sells them, and then buys more. He is the founder and chairman of the Peebles Corporation, one of the largest Black-owned real estate development companies in the United States. And his personal portfolio in the New York area reads like a masterclass in strategic acquisition. Start with his penthouse at the Sky in Manhattan's financial district. The Sky is not a building most New Yorkers even know about, and that is by design. It is one of the most exclusive residential towers downtown, originally modeled after its sister property in Miami Beach. Peebles secured a top-floor unit with sweeping views of the East River and the Brooklyn Bridge. Then head east to Bridgehampton, where Peebles owns an 11,000-square-foot estate on 11 acres, purchased for $5.4 million. 11 acres in the Hamptons. That is not a house, that is a compound. The property features formal gardens, a pool pavilion, and enough land to build a second mansion on the grounds if he ever felt like it. He also holds a waterfront home in Sag Harbor, purchased for $2.2 million, a community with deep historical ties to Black wealth and culture. Sag Harbor has been a haven for affluent Black families since the early 20th century, and Peebles did not just buy into that legacy, he expanded it. 3 properties, 3 strategic positions across the New York metropolitan landscape. Manhattan for power, Bridgehampton for space, Sag Harbor for legacy. That is not collecting homes. That is building an empire. And if a multi-property empire sounds impressive, the next entry involves a man who fled his own country, fought a 5-year legal war against a dictator, and then bought 2 penthouses on Central Park West. Number 4. Strive Masiyiwa's El Dorado penthouse, $0.5 million. Most people have never heard of Strive Masiyiwa, and that is exactly how he wants it. Masiyiwa is a Zimbabwean-born telecom billionaire worth approximately $2.2 billion. He is the founder of Econet Global, a pan-African telecommunications empire, and he sits on the board of Netflix. He has been called Britain's first Black billionaire. And in 2016, he quietly purchased 2 adjacent penthouse units at the El Dorado on Central Park West for $24.5 million. The El Dorado is not just any building. It is a 29-story Art Deco landmark that fills an entire city block between West 90th and West 91st Streets. Its twin towers are one of the most recognizable silhouettes on the Upper West Side, and its residents have historically included some of the most powerful names in entertainment, finance, and politics. Masiyiwa's duplex spans the top 2 floors of the building's northern tower, floors 29 and 30, connected by an iron staircase. 5 bedrooms, 4 terraces, 12-foot ceilings, a wooden library, and panoramic views of Central Park that stretch from the Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis Reservoir all the way to the Manhattan skyline. But his origin story is what makes this property extraordinary. Masiyiwa's family fled Rhodesia when he was 7 years old during the War for Independence. He was sent to boarding school in Edinburgh, Scotland at 12. He returned to Zimbabwe as a young man, saved $75 from his engineering salary, and used it to start a small electrical firm. When he tried to launch a mobile phone company, Robert Mugabe's government refused him a license. Masiyiwa sued and fought for 5 years in Zimbabwe's constitutional court, arguing that the refusal violated freedom of expression. He won. That ruling broke the state telecom monopoly and opened the door for private mobile networks across Africa. A man who started with $75 and fought a dictator now watches the sunset over Central Park from the top of one of New York's most iconic buildings. If that is not next level, nothing is. But the next entry is not just one property. It is an entire real estate portfolio worth $500 million, owned by 2 people who started with absolutely nothing. Number 3. Jay-Z and Beyonce's New York Kingdom. Jay-Z grew up in Marcy Houses, a public housing project in Brooklyn's Bedford-Stuyvesant neighborhood. His father abandoned the family when he was 11. By 13, the crack epidemic had consumed his block. He could not get a record deal, so he co-founded his own label and released his debut album himself. Beyonce grew up in Houston, Texas. Her father was a Xerox sales manager. Her mother was a hairdresser. She won her first talent show at 7 years old, singing John Lennon's Imagine. Today, their combined net worth exceeds $3.5 billion. And their New York real estate portfolio alone could fund a small country. Start in Tribeca. Jay-Z purchased the penthouse at 195 Hudson Street in 2004 for $6.85 million. The building is a converted 1929 warehouse with 27 units, and Jay-Z's unit spans 8,300 square feet of interior space plus 3,000 square feet of private terrace. 12-foot ceilings, oversized casement windows, exposed concrete columns, a landscaped rooftop with Hudson River views and a gas grill. But this address carries a weight that no square footage can capture. On April 4, 2008, Jay-Z and Beyonce held their wedding ceremony in this penthouse. 40 guests, 70,000 orchids flown in from Thailand. No press, no cameras, just two of the most famous people on earth getting married in their living room. Then, there is the Hamptons. In August 2017, the Carters purchased an estate at 81 Briarpatch Road in East Hampton for $25.9 million. The property sits on the banks of Georgica Pond and was originally designed by Stanford White, one of the most celebrated architects in American history. A recent renovation by Jeffrey Cole rotated the entire house 90 degrees so the living room faces west toward the pond. Think about that. They did not just renovate the house, they turned it. 12,000 square feet, 7 bedrooms, 9 bathrooms, a guest cottage with its own kitchen, hand-carved heated marble tubs, quarter-sawn white oak paneling with French chalk finish, hand-pegged Parquet de Versailles floors, an infinity-edged pool and spa on a Turkish limestone terrace, adjacent to a 17-acre nature preserve. And this is just New York. Their total real estate portfolio is estimated at over $500 million, including an $88 million Bel Air compound and a $200 million Malibu estate, the most expensive home ever sold in California. From Marcy projects to a $500 million property empire. That is the definition of next level. But the next name on this list did something even the Carters have not done. He bought on Billionaires Row, flipped it in under 2 years, and walked away with the biggest real estate deal in New York City in 2025. Number 2. Byron Allen's Billionaires Row Conquest, million to $0.5 million. To understand what Byron Allen did at 220 Central Park South, you first need to understand the building. 220 Central Park South is not just a condo tower. It is the single most exclusive residential address in the Western Hemisphere. Designed by Robert A.M. Stern, in a classic limestone facade meant to echo the grand pre-war apartment houses of the 1920s, this building sits at the heart of Billionaires Row, the stretch of super-tall towers lining the southern edge of Central Park. Units in this building have traded for over $200 million. The residents include hedge fund titans, sovereign wealth principals, and the kind of people whose names never appear in tabloids because they own the tabloids. In 2023, Byron Allen walked into this building and purchased Unit 45A for $75 million. Allen is not a tech founder or a hedge fund manager. He is a media mogul from Detroit who grew up sneaking onto the set of The Tonight Show at NBC Studios, where his mother worked as a publicist. At 14, he joined Jimmy Walker's comedy writing team alongside 2 unknown comedians named Jay Leno and David Letterman. At 18, he became the youngest stand-up comedian ever to perform on The Tonight Show, starring Johnny Carson. He went on to found Allen Media Group, acquire the Weather Channel for $300 million, and build the largest independent syndicated television production company in the world. His unit at 220 Central Park South stretched over 6,000 square feet. 5 bedrooms, 6 bathrooms, a private library, 2 balconies overlooking Central Park, a wine room, a gourmet kitchen, and access to the building's private restaurant, 82-foot saltwater pool, athletic club, and spa. And then, in March 2025, Allen sold it off-market for $82.5 million. That is a $7.5 million profit in under 2 years. It was the single largest residential real estate transaction in New York City in 2025. A black man from Detroit on Billionaires Row, making the biggest deal of the year and then walking away. But even that cannot prepare you for the final entry on this list, because the last property belongs to the richest black man in America. And his penthouse has something that no other apartment in Manhattan has: a private swimming pool in the sky. Number 1. Robert F. Smith's Getty Triplex Million. Robert F. Smith is the richest black man in America. His net worth exceeds $10 billion. He is the founder, chairman, and CEO of Vista Equity Partners, one of the most successful private equity firms in the world, managing over $100 billion in assets. And in April 2018, he closed on the most extraordinary penthouse downtown Manhattan has ever seen. The property is located at the Getty, a boutique co-op on West 24th Street in Chelsea, designed by architect Peter Marino. The building has only 8 units across 12 stories, making it one of the most exclusive residential addresses in New York, not because of its height or its flash, but because of its scarcity. 8 families, 12 floors, and one of the world's foremost art collections literally built into the building. The Getty houses an in-house art museum and education center on its lower levels. Smith's penthouse occupies the top 3 floors of the building, a 10,000 square foot triplex. The master suite takes up the entire 11th floor. 6 bedrooms, 7 bathrooms, 2 full kitchens, 2 great rooms, a lower level designed as private office space. And then there is the detail that separates this property from every other luxury residence in Manhattan: a private rooftop terrace with a swimming pool. In a city where outdoor space is measured in inches, Robert F. Smith has a pool on top of his building, with panoramic views of Manhattan in every direction. The purchase price was $59.058 million. At the time, it set the record for the most expensive sale in downtown Manhattan history. But Robert F. Smith's story is what makes this penthouse transcend real estate. He was born in Denver, Colorado. Both of his parents held PhDs in education and served as school principals. He earned a degree in chemical engineering from Cornell, worked at Kraft General Foods, where he patented coffee filtration systems, then earned his MBA from Columbia Business School. He joined Goldman Sachs in 1994 and left in 2000 to found Vista Equity Partners with a singular focus: enterprise software companies. That bet turned him into the wealthiest black person in America. But the moment that defined Robert F. Smith for the world came in May 2019, when he stood at the podium during the Morehouse College commencement ceremony and announced that he would personally pay off the student loan debt for the entire graduating class. Every single student. $34 million. Gone. The students wept. Their parents wept. The faculty wept. And the man who wrote the check went home to a triplex penthouse with a swimming pool on the roof. That is not wealth. That is power deployed with purpose. And that is the most next-level mansion in New York. 7 properties. From a full-floor fortress in Manhattan to a century-old palace built by America's first self-made black female millionaire. From Central Park West penthouses bought by men who fought dictators to a $500 million portfolio assembled by 2 kids from the projects in Houston, Texas. If this video opened your eyes, subscribe to Black Status and turn on notifications. We go deep on stories like this every single week. Drop a comment and tell us which property blew your mind the most. And share this video with someone who needs to see it. Subscribe to Black Status. We are just getting started.